Okay, why don't we get started with today's meditation program? Thank you so much, Amy, and thank you to everybody that's here with us today. Thanks, Amy.
Good morning. Hope everybody's staying cool today. Being still helps, moving slow, breathing deep, taking time to sit still, especially in this heavy humidity that we're dealing with in the past few days. So I'd like to start this morning just with a little reading, and then we'll do a little breath work to settle, our bodies and our minds. And then we'll move into a guided meditation, one of my favorites today. So just take your comfortable seat. And as I always say, if you're new to this, you can sit on the floor with a pillow. You can sit in a chair with your feet firmly planted on the ground. It's good to have the spine aligned and erect. But if you have any issues, with your hips or your back or whatever, you can certainly lay down as long as you could stay awake. So, because meditation, although it's relaxing, it's very vibrant and active. So you don't want to be in a position where you're going to fall asleep. Sometimes we do get a little, because our energy kind of goes down and we get really relaxed sometimes, and we can feel that like we're going to fall asleep, and you just take some deep breaths and wake yourself up. And you could just listen to the sound of my voice as well. So I'd like to start with this quote from the well-known Indian poet Kabir. Still the body, still the mind, still the voice inside. In silence, we can feel the stillness move. Still the body, still the mind, still the voice inside. In silence, we can feel the stillness move. So stillness isn't necessarily nothing happening. We can begin to feel within the stillness the movement. We begin to feel all the vibrancy that happens when we become still, that's underneath all the doing. And that reading was from Kabir. This is from the book I've been reading from this session, an old classic. Wherever you go, that's where you are. You can't get away from yourself, unfortunately, although we'd like to sometimes, right? We like to escape. So I'm going to read this reading, which is entitled Simple But Not Easy. While it may be simple to practice mindfulness, it's not necessarily easy. Mindfulness requires effort and discipline for the simple reason that the forces that work against our being mindful, namely our habitual unawareness and automaticity, are exceedingly tenacious. So our mind will keep coming in. It's tenacious, the nature of our mind. They are so strong and so much out of our consciousness that an inner commitment and a certain kind of work are necessary just to keep up our attempts to capture our moments in awareness and sustain mindfulness. But it is an intrinsically satisfying work because it puts us in touch with many aspects of our lives that are habitually overlooked and lost to us. So some scholars, psychoanalysts, describe our minds as, if you think about a big like castle, and there's all these different doorways and rooms within our psyche. And some of the rooms we've kind of locked away, like a small little room in the basement cellar, that we've locked away some of the things maybe that we've wanted to do, maybe some projects, maybe some aspirations and dreams that we've just kind of given up on. And that, whether we realize it or not, some of that like bleeds our energy. And with meditation, when you really can quiet and get inside, sometimes you can unlock certain doors. And it could be doorways that you really don't want to open. You don't want to see what's in there, but it's very poignant just to take a look at what's going on in the deeper dimensions of your mind. And we can't really access those deeper dimensions until we can get still enough so that all the surface thoughts can just kind of quiet down so we can see what's behind our energy, what's driving our emotions. Emotions come up over all these different things, and sometimes we don't know where they're coming from or why. And it really is a really wise effort and beneficial to take a look at what's behind our emotions, what's behind our everyday thoughts, because we can access. Patanjali and the Yoga Sutras say that when we come into meditation, we can access deep stores of energy and creativity that we didn't even know we had. So that's what really meditation is about. So let's do some breath work just to begin to quiet that mind, settle the body, so we can come into a space of stillness and experience a little bit of stillness. And then we'll come out and I'll set up the meditation for today. So just again, take that comfortable seat or whatever position you're in. Have a nice open chest and long spine. And we'll do some counted rounds of breathing that can be very relaxing, releasing stress, releasing anxiety. The breath is the key. So together, let's take a deep breath in to the count of 1, 2, 3, all the way up till the breath hits the collarbone. Hold it. And exhale for 3, 2, 1. Emptying out. Hold it out for a moment and then gently inhale. 1, 2. Feel the breath lifting up. 3. And exhale. 3, 2, 1. Again, inhale. 1, 2, 3. Hold. And exhale. 3, 2, 1. Continuing on your own now. Breathing in. Maybe you can take it a little longer than I'm instructing or a little less. See if you can match the exhale with the inhale. The tendency to shorten the exhale is common. And the tendency to tighten up around the breath. So you want it to be a natural breath, not gulping the air, but nice and slow, like creating that equanimity, the balance with the breath. And as Kabir says, as you're breathing, still the body, still the mind, stilling the voice inside. In silence, we can feel the stillness move. So we begin with the body, relaxing the body through the breath, allowing the mind to become as still as possible. It'll never, remember, it's tenacious. It'll never be totally still, but we can go underneath. So we can begin to still the voice inside. Let's take 2 more rounds of breath like this, breathing fully in, exhaling completely out. And one more time. Breathe all the way in. Maybe you can hold it and exhale all the way out. Gently open your eyes. If your eyes are closed, you could wiggle, you stretch a little bit. And I'm going to finish with this reading before we take the guided meditation. We tend to be particularly unaware that we are thinking virtually all the time. We are all the time thinking. There's always a voice inside telling us what to do, where to go, what's next, what happened before. This incessant stream of thoughts flowing through our minds leaves us very little respite for inner quiet. And we leave precious little room for ourselves anyway, just to be, without having to run around doing things all the time. Our actions are all too frequently driven rather than undertaken in awareness, driven by those perfectly ordinary thoughts and impulses that run through the mind like a coursing river, if not a waterfall at times. We get caught up in the torrent, and it winds up submerging our lives as it carries us to places we may not wish to go and may not even realize we are headed for. So meditation means learning how to get out of this current, sit by its bank and listen to it, learn from it, and then use its energies to guide us rather than tyrannize us. This process doesn't magically happen by itself because it takes energy. We call the effort to cultivate our ability to be in the present moment a practice, or you can call it a meditation practice. It's a practice. We're not supposed to know how to do this. And every day when we sit on our cushions or we go to meditate, it's a different experience. So we just come, we sit. You made it here onto this Zoom meeting. So you took the effort to carve out this time for yourself. So coming into that comfortable seat again. The guided meditation, I'll set it up before we formally sit. We're going to imagine that we are sitting on the bank of a river, right? We're sitting on the edge of the river. And the current is nice and easy and it's clear, and you're all by yourself. You see yourself sitting on the bank of the river. This beautiful setting, beautiful day, perfect weather day. And you see yourself sitting very comfortable, serene, calm. You feel safe. You're just enjoying watching this beautiful river flow by. And then as a thought comes in, you're going to see it as a boat coming down your river, kind of disturbing your peace, right? It's coming down. And as the boat comes down the river, you name it. So this is the key. You name it of what thought that you're thinking. So in other words, one of my boats that come up when I'm meditating is planning classes, because that's what I do. So I start planning, oh, this would be a good idea. This would be, and it takes me out of the moment. So I name that boat, I'm planning a class again. I'm not going to let that boat take me down the current. I'm going to name it, acknowledge what it is, and put myself back on the bank of the river. And you might find sometimes you might get on that boat and you're going way down the river. You've even lost sight of where you were sitting. All you have to do, it's no problem, just call yourself back and bring yourself back onto the river. So come into your seat or your position that you're in. Relax. Remember that we're learners. This is a practice. And begin to create that visualization of a riverbank, whatever calls to you. Maybe you're sitting on the sandy shore, or you're sitting in a beautiful lounge chair or meditation cushion, or maybe you're sitting on top of a riverbank rock. Just make it as detailed as you possibly can. Maybe it's a river you actually were at, or it's a river you've seen a picture of, or it's just an imaginary, beautiful river. And really put yourself there. Feel the sun, feel the air, hear the babbling of the river, the current rushing by. Beautiful, serene setting. You're safe, you're content just to sit and be with the river. Its calming presence. And then you begin to notice that your mind has begun to drift. And you notice a boat is coming down your river, the river of your mind. And you notice and you name it. What is this boat that's running through the river of my mind called? Is it planning? Is it making a list? Is it thinking about yesterday or last year? Let's get a sense of what is crossing through the river of your mind. And in the power of naming it, you've already become aware. And it's no problem. Without reproach, you gently guide yourself back and you see yourself sitting back on your riverbank, letting the boat fade down the river. And you remain anchored and settled in your spot, letting go of restlessness, letting go of the need to control, just allowing yourself to be. Just letting the river of your mind calmly move. Getting the sense of the energy within stillness. And as the next boat arises, because it will, it's no problem, no judgment. Just name it for what it is. I'm thinking. I'm thinking about. Doesn't matter. We don't get on the boat and let it take us down with the current. We just notice that we've gotten on the boat, no matter how far down the river you've gone. You gently find yourself back in your spot on the bank of the river, anchored and settled. Without judgment, you just come back. Connecting back to the even breath, back to your beautiful place on the bank of the river. Letting yourself be. And as soon as that restlessness begins to arise, you'll notice another boat. What's on this boat? We just explore. Sometimes and most often, the same boat will keep coming. The same thought pattern will keep arising. And when that happens, we can explore just a little bit deeper as to what the feeling tone of that boat is. Is it anxiety? Is it pleasure? Is it sorrow? Is it regret? Without judgment, we just explore what kind of emotion is on that boat. And without getting sucked into it, sucked into the current, we come back and just allow. Out of restlessness is born a lot of suffering, a lot of anxiety and angst. Notice what boat comes up when you start becoming restless and a little impatient with the practice. Notice what comes up. If the body gets uncomfortable or tight, stretch, wiggle, move. Take a deep breath in and out and come back. Right now is the time to guide yourself back with a gentle but firm hand. So you can observe and be present to the vibrancy of being still. And just allowing the river and the boats to arise and dissolve and go on their way. The point of our meditation is not so much to control the thoughts with an iron fist, but it's to learn how not to let the thoughts control you, not to be swept up in the current of the river of thoughts, but to find that place on the bank and just observe, to learn, to inquire what my thoughts can teach me when I become still and observe without judgment, with compassion, with patience. As you go deeper and get more settled, notice if judgment is arising. If your river is filled with a million boats, it's no problem. You're not doing anything wrong. We're just observing. Sometimes we can identify the feeling tone of the thought pattern. If you're feeling fear, maybe it's a fear-provoking boat. Fear of the future is very common. But we can look at the fear and say, this is what fear feels like. This is what it creates in my body. This is what that boat looks like. I can feel it and I can understand. When my brother or sister is feeling fear, I can be compassionate. We can learn about ourselves, and in turn, we learn about each other. So we're all more alike than we are different. Maybe some of your boats are full with joy and you don't want to get off. You want to hold on to that feeling and thought. And you could say, this is what joy feels like. When my friend is feeling joy, this is what she's feeling. And I can rejoice because I know what joy feels like. We can learn. One of the most important aspects of this type of mindful meditation is to notice what boats keep showing up and create a succinct name. Oh, that boat is worrying about the future. Oh, that boat is planning what I have to do today. Oh, that boat is thinking about what I did yesterday or the decision I made. Without judgment, just release yourself from the thought pattern and come back to watching. Meditation is the practice of observing. It is coming into the practice of observation on purpose. So we could be still enough to experience the reality of this moment. So that we can train the mind when we're walking about our daily round to be present, to observe what's happening and respond. When you name a thought pattern, when you name your boat, right there is the observer taking control. And right in the naming, in the noticing, and the awareness, you bring yourself back without effort, just in the noticing. Cultivating a calm abiding, stilling the body, quieting the mind, and observe all the energy and the movement within stillness. Let's sit with this meditation just for about another 2 or 3 minutes in silence. I will call you back. So see if you can completely immerse yourself on the bank of your river, just observing, remembering that it's no problem when you've gotten on a boat. Once you realize you're on there, just gently bring yourself back to the sand, to the rock, to your chair, wherever you're sitting on the bank, and you begin to observe again. If the body begins to get tight, relax it with the breath. Move if you need to, but let's stay here. I will call you out at the end of about 2 or 3 minutes. Final minute, notice if your mind has gone somewhere. Come back to the anchoring of the earth that you're sitting on. See if you can sustain your attention even just for one full round of breath in this last final moments of meditation. Gently guiding yourself back so the voice in your mind can be still, can quiet, can move to the background. So you can feel moments of peace within the stillness. Together, let's take a deep breath in, awakening breath. Open the mouth and exhale. Blink open your eyes. Stretch a little bit. So sometimes with this meditation, it's important to kind of notice what thought pattern keeps coming up for you. Just an example for me, I have a son with special needs. He lives on his own, and frequently he calls me in a panic. Something, his TV won't work, or his computer, or his toilet is stuffed up, you know? So a lot of times when I'm meditating, that's one of my boats that I'm thinking, is he okay? Does he need me? I'm not available right now. Should I check my phone? Like all these thoughts come in. And I notice it. As soon as I name it, I'm thinking about Joey. Come back. I can come back into the stillness. But it's a noticing of that. That's a constant thought. And when this happens to me other times during the day, because of my meditation practice, I can connect to that and say, oh, it's that voice again. He's fine. Let me come back to where I am, what I'm doing. So it's a really beneficial practice that can take you into your day and help you remain steady and calm and anchored. So if something came up for you and you noticed a certain thought pattern that kept coming back, maybe write it down. Grab your journal when we're done and write down any insights that you had. That's another way to just let it plant in your psyche to remember, oh yeah, I'm thinking about this right now, but I'm actually here. So why don't I be here right now instead of missing what's happening here? So I'm going to leave you with this reading. The rest of the reading I was reading before. Meditation means learning how to get out of the current. Sit by its bank and listen to it, learn from it, and then use its energies to guide us rather than to tyrannize us, to beat ourselves up, right? We call the effort to cultivate our ability to be in the present moment practice, meditation practice, or practice. And think about when you practice something, you're not supposed to know how to do it. We're practicing. We're learning about ourselves. So I hope you enjoyed this meditation. If you are an artist or you like to draw,